how this mathematical miracle of the Quran was discovered? When I came to this country, the United States, in 1968, I read the English translations of the Quran, and I didn't like any of them. I read them all. Yusuf Ali, Muhammad Ali, Pickthall, Arbery, M.J. Dawood, and so on, all of them. Even as far back as George Sale's translation. Some of them actually distorted the basic doctrines of the Quran. And that was serious enough to encourage me to translate the Quran myself for my own children. I did it just for local consumption. However, because I'm a chemist and not a professional religionist, I decided not to move from one verse to the next unless I know exactly what every word and every verse meant. I made a pledge to God that I will not move from one verse to the next unless I know exactly what it meant. So I started the translation and I finished the first Surah, Al-Fatiha, in 7 days. Then I moved on to the next verse, the first verse of Surah number 2, Al-Baqarah. And I found that it consisted of only 3 letters, Alif, Lam, Mim, A-L-M. Of course, I knew this all along since I was a young child, but now I'm trying to translate it. I wanted to know exactly what the significance of A-L-M is. I looked up all the tafsirs, interpretations, and all the books written about these letters, and everybody, all the scholars said, we do not know what these letters mean. So I started my own research, and after many attempts and many failures, I decided to put the whole Quran in the computer. I didn't know what to look for. So I had the computer count every letter in every surah. And the objective was to look for any mathematical connections or any mathematical pattern between that involves these letters. There are 29 surahs in the Quran prefixed with these initials, different sets of initials. 14 sets of initials to be exact. Alif, Lam, Mim, Noon, Sad, Qaf, Ta, Sin, Mim, Yasin, Taha, and so on. 14 of them. And sure enough, after 4 years of research, a mathematical pattern emerged with a common denominator binding all these initials without a single exception. And the common denominator was 19. As it turned out, and as you will see in this program, every element of the Quran, the number of verses, the numbers assigned to the surahs, numbers of words, the letters, every letter in the Quran is mathematically composed beyond human capability. And the common denominator that binds all these mathematical, physical facts is the number 19. The first item of this miracle is that the first verse in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, consists of 19 Arabic letters. Here they are: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 letters. And the whole Quran has 114 surahs. As we see here, the last surah is number 114. And 114 is a multiple of 19. 19 times 6. And it consists of 6 verses, by the way. So 19 times 6 gives us the total number of surahs in the Quran, 114. Now, if we count from this surah towards the other surahs, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. We find that number 19 is the first revelation in Quran, surah number 96, and it says Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, the first revelation. So the first surah revealed is positioned in the Quran atop the last 19 surahs in the Quran. You also notice that this surah consists of 19 verses. The first revelation was 19 words exactly. Here they are: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then go to the next page. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This was the first revelation through the Prophet Muhammad, and it consisted of 19 words. If you count the letters in these 19 words, you find that the total is 76. 19 times 4. And if you count the letters in the whole surah, the first surah revealed, you find that the total is 285 letters, or 19 times 15. The last surah revealed was surah number 110. And it consists also of 19 words. Here they are: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So the last revelation and the first revelation consisted of 19 words. Now, if you go back to the very beginning, the first verse in the Quran, as you heard before, the first verse of the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, consists of 19 letters. every word, there are 4 words here, and every word is mentioned in the Quran a number of times, which is consistently a multiple of 19. The word ism, which means name, is mentioned in the Quran 19 times exactly. If you wish to use the word bism, it is mentioned 3 times, but if you add the numbers assigned to the verses and surahs where the 3 times of bism occur, the total is 114, 19 times 6. The second word, Allah, is mentioned in the whole book 2,698 times, or 19 times 142. The third word, Ar-Rahman, is mentioned in the whole Quran 57 times, or 19 times 3. The last word, Ar-Rahim, is mentioned in the whole book 114 times, or 19 times 6. As you see, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the first verse in the Quran, is very important, and you will see it at the beginning of every surah in the Quran. Every surah has Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim at the beginning except one. However, only the first verse of the first surah is numbered. It has number 1. When you go to the other surahs, you find that this opening statement has no number. This is why we take only the first opening statement to represent all the Bismillahs in the Quran, all the opening statements of the Quran. If you go to Surah 9, you will notice that this surah does not have a Basmala. It says here that this surah does not have Bismillah. Now, since the Quran has 114 surahs, and this one does not have an opening statement, this will mean that we have only 113 Basmalas in the Quran, and this number is not divisible by 19. But we find that this missing Bismillah is made up in surah number 27. So if you go to surah number 27, you will see that we have 2 Bismillahs. This is surah number 27. And there is one Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim at the beginning, like every other surah except surah 9. And there is an extra one in the middle of the surah, right here, in verse 30. You'll see another Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this surah contains 2 of them, 2 of the opening statement or Basmalas. One at the beginning and one in verse 30. And this restores the number of this important opening statement to 114, or 19 times 6. Also, if you count the surahs from the missing Bismillah of Surah 9, see there's the missing Bismillah of Surah 9, and then we count the surahs from here to the place where we find the extra Bismillah. Here is 1, this is number 1, 2 surahs, 3 surahs, 4, 5, 6. We are counting from the missing Bismillah to the extra Bismillah. This will be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. We didn't get to Surah 27 yet. This is 25, which is the 17th Surah from the missing Bismillah. Here is 18, and you'll find that the Surah that has 2 Bismillahs, Surah number 27, is Surah number 19. From the missing Bismillah to the extra Bismillah, from Surah 9 to Surah 27, we find exactly 19 surahs, inclusive. This is the Surah that has 2 Bismillahs. And it is Surah number 19 after the missing Bismillah of Surah 9. From the missing Bismillah in Surah 9 to the extra Bismillah in Surah 27, there are 19 surahs. So when you count the surahs from the missing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim of Surah 9 to the extra Bismillah in Surah 27, you find 19 surahs. Now, what's this? If you add the numbers of the surahs, the numbers assigned to the surahs, from 9 to 27, from the missing Bismillah to the extra Bismillah, that is 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12 plus 13, all the way to plus 26 plus 27, the total is 342, which is a multiple of 19. It is 19 times 18. And this is half the story. You add the numbers of the surahs from the missing Bismillah to the extra Bismillah, 9 plus 10 plus 11 all the way to 27, the total 342 is exactly the number of words between the two Bismillahs of Surah 27. The number of words, as you see here. This total 342 is exactly the number of words between this Bismillah in Surah 27 and the second Bismillah of Surah 27. You count these words, you count all these words, and you'll find that the total up to this word here, before the second Bismillah, up to this word, the total is 342, which equals the total of the numbers of surahs from the missing Bismillah to this extra Bismillah. The number of verses, ayat, in the Quran, from the beginning, from the first ayah or verse to the very end, to the last ayah, is 6,346, which is a multiple of 19. The total number of ayat, verses in the Quran, 6,346 or 19 times 334. As I mentioned before, there are 29 surahs in Quran that are initial with these Quranic initials. And the first initial in the Quran is in surah number 2, the first verse. Alif Lam Mim. The last initial is the initial noon in surah number 68, which is right here. This initial here is the last initial. This here is the first initial, and this is the last initial. The number of ayat or verses in this section here, from the first initial to the last initial, is 5,263 ayat or verses. 19 times 277. You just start at Alif Lam Mim, the first Quranic initial, and you count all the verses in here up to this verse in Surah 68, and you'll find that the total is 5,263 or 19 times 277. Also, if you count the word Allah in this section between the first initial and the last initial, you'll find that the total of the word Allah here is 2,641, which is a multiple of 19. 19 times 139. And of course, if you count the word Allah outside of this section, that will be here and before Alif Lam Mim. The word Allah is 57 times. Is found 57 times, or 19 times 3. In the section from the first initial Alif Lam Mim to the last initial Noon, there are exactly 38 surahs without initials. The uninitial surahs here are 38, which is a multiple of 19. 19 times 2. So this is another physical fact. Now, I mentioned that outside of this section, there are 57 words Allah. That's outside the initial section of the Quran. In this part and this part to the end, there are 57 words Allah. If you add the numbers of the surahs, the numbers assigned to the surahs, like this number here, and the numbers assigned to the verses, the total is 2,432 or 19 times 128. Now I'm talking about the numbers assigned to the surahs and verses where you find the word Allah outside of the initial section. You add these numbers assigned to the surahs and to the verses wherever you find the word Allah, and the total is a multiple of 19. Well, this proves that the numbers assigned to the surahs and the numbers assigned to the verses are from God, not from humans.